icebreakers. This is the kind of work we need to do.
You didn't answer my question, and I'm going to give you the opportunity again to call unequivocally for the canceling of the CIB loan.
Oh, yeah.
I want to take a moment and just think about the folks who are struggling right now. There'll be husbands or wives that go home to their kids this evening who say, you know what, we were expecting to go to hockey this year, we can't. There'll be workers that go home and say, we can't make the mortgage payment this week because of the tariffs that are imposed. There was an opportunity for this government to give relief to some of those families in British Columbia, in Quebec, and elsewhere that could have had the opportunity to have really a generational investment that would have given jobs for years, if not decades, to families. And that didn't happen because of your government. And now you say you're dismayed, you have consternation, you have 71 letters that are out there. Will any of those letters provide any of the relief to the families I've been talking about?
Yeah, absolutely they will. And I want to thank you for the way you framed the issue, because I am so concerned about the workers in our steel sector, our aluminum sector, softwood lumber. These are very important Canadian industries. I've spent a lot of time in steel mills, in aluminum smelters, in pulp mills. When we fought the 232 tariffs in 2018, we worked really hard with steel and aluminum. So I know who you're talking about. And I do think that we as Canadians need to recognize these essential industries, and the people who work there, often generations of families working there, are under attack. They need our support. That's what I'm working hard to do. These 71 letters to the agencies I control are about saying, when you are looking at your procurement, you need to put a priority on Canadian manufacturing jobs, on steel, aluminum, and softwood. And I do want to point to this meeting that we're going to hold with the shipbuilders and with steel and aluminum and the ferry operators.
Thank you, Minister. So the reality is, though, the dismay, the consternation, the letters, they won't put food on the table of our aluminum and steel workers. The contract with BC Ferries could have done just that. And but I do want to get into the facts. Will you call today unequivocally for the canceling of the CIB, the Canadian Infrastructure Bank loan that underpins this this contract between BC Ferries and the Chinese shipyard? Will you call for it?
You know I have a lot of respect for you, but I disagree that instructing all of the Transport Canada agencies to procure from Canada won't help. Of course it will help. This means that going forward, they are going to be using steel, using aluminum, using lumber. And the meetings of the shipbuilders and of the rail sector are really significant, because speaking, for example, this morning with John McCarthy, the CEO of C-SPAN, we had a very substantive conversation about what it will take for him and his workers to be able to build ferries for Canada, what it will take for them to use Canadian steel. I congratulated him on an MOU that he signed with Algoma in the middle of July to use Canadian steel in icebreakers. Minister. This is the kind of work we need to do.
You didn't answer my question, and I'm going to give you the opportunity again to call unequivocally for the canceling of the CIB loan.
I have been compared to a ship, so I'm going to use a transport metaphor. I'm here as Transport Minister and Minister of Internal Trade, and I'm going to stay in my lane and answer the questions about areas I have responsibility for.
One more time. You are a minister, you're a high-ranking minister. You've been in politics, as you said, for 12 years. You were deputy leader, finance minister during the time when the CIB operated, when mandates were created. Will you call today, as a member of the government, as a senior minister, for the canceling of the CIB loan?
I have long been an advocate for buying Canadian and reciprocal procurement. I pointed to a policy statement that I published as finance minister in 2023, and I published a reciprocal procurement approach in the fall economic statement of 2023, the budget of 2023, and the 2021 budget. So I've been working on this for a long time, and it's important.
Thank you very much. We have room for one more question from Mr. Lawrence, and one more question that we will provide the opportunity for Mr. Kellaway to ask. So, Mr. Lawrence, the floor is yours for one question, please.
Thank you. In your letter earlier this year, you said that I am dismayed that the BC Ferries would select a Chinese state-owned shipyard to build new ferries in the current geopolitical context, and I ask you to verify and confirm with utmost certainty that no federal funding will be diverted to support the acquisition of these ferries. Since come to light that $1 billion of federal funds will go to support the purchase and construction of these ferries. Will you call today for the canceling of the loan to BC Ferries?
I think I've been very clear that I share the dismay that I think is shared by all members of this committee around that procurement. And in my capacity as transport minister, I have done everything under my authorities to ensure, first of all, that operating funding is used only for operations. And second, and I think even more importantly, to ensure that in procurement decisions taken while I am transport minister, we are supporting Canadian manufacturers, supporting steel, aluminum, softwood lumber, and working together to get a real strategy to do that in shipbuilding and in rail.
Thank you very much, Minister. And our final question for you today will come from Mr. Kellaway. Mr. Kellaway, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Minister, there's been a lot of talk today about the provincial procurement process. I really believe all of us on this committee, including elected leaders in BC, agree that every government must reevaluate its procurement policies to ensure we're supporting Canadian workers and businesses in the economy. And God knows the world has changed over the last few months. It changes on a daily basis, especially when you look at the tariffs that are coming from the Americans. And you talked about this in your opening statement, but I want you to, if you can, elaborate a little bit on it in the time that we have. So for years, you've been working to advance reciprocal procurement here in Canada. So we're not benefiting our adversaries and supporting Canadians. I wonder if you could just speak the time that we have to your work to advance reciprocal procurement and what that means for Canada.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kellaway. Thank you for joining us. And since this is the Transport Committee, I do want to thank you for your work on getting those tolls lowered. That comes into effect today, and I know it's going to be really meaningful for the people you represent. So thank you for your hard work on that. Now is a moment when we have to really, in a profound way, rewire the Canadian economy. It has to start with procurement. As I mentioned, I have been an advocate and really have been thinking about how we need to change our procurement policy, that we need to go to a reciprocal procurement policy and a Buy Canadian policy where we support Canadian workers, we support our sectors that are being hard hit, and where we cannot buy Canadian, where we seek to buy from countries with whom we have a reciprocal procurement agreement. We need to do that urgently. It is a different approach than the one that previous Canadian governments have taken. That's why I've written 71 letters in June to the agencies controlled by Transport Canada and said we have to change how we do things. And I do want to point out there has been quite rightly specific attention paid to steel, aluminum, and lumber. These industries are going to have to be brought into a conversation with manufacturers, with government procurement procurers at all levels, so that they can be producing the inputs that the manufacturers need. That's a conversation we have to have urgently. And as we do that, they can fill up their order books going forward That is going to provide the security for the workers and the families that Mr. Lawrence quite rightly invoked.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Madame Hébert, Mr. Tangaraj, and of course you, Honourable Minister, for your testimony here today. We wish you a great rest of your day. Colleagues, I'm going to suspend for 2 minutes in order to welcome our next witness, Minister Robertson, and of course his team. The meeting is suspended.
Oh